Welcome to Drive Time with KJ. I'm your host, KJ Bell. This is the show where I get in my car, I start driving, and I complain about things. So we're going to do that. Let's go. All right, so it's a rainy, gloomy day here in Los Angeles, which doesn't happen all that often. But it's fitting, because today we're talking about why sponges are awful. Yes, sponges, the little thing that you keep in the sink and clean stuff with. Maybe you clean your body with the sponge. And here's why you shouldn't. First off, let's just talk about the word sponge for a second. Like, it bothers me. It's one of those words that I want to spell wrong all the time. I want to put a U in it. There should be a U in it somewhere. A U. Just a little U. I don't know what, I try to put it like S-P-O-N-G-U-E for some reason. I know, I say that and it sounds totally wrong, but when I write it, it feels right. The other thing about the word is it sounds weird. It just sounds bizarre. It sounds like some sort of moss or something that should be growing on a forest floor, or like some sort of IKEA furniture line. Yes, I got this sponge desk at IKEA. I think I'm gonna go back and get the sponge shelves. So the word bothers me. But okay, so the sponge, it's a little piece of something that sits in or on or near your sink, made out of God knows what, and it picks up tons of, other stuff that, like, God knows what. I mean, seriously, what are they made out of? I don't, somebody tell me, comment, tell me. I don't want to go look at the package. That's too much work. And I'd Google it, but I'm driving. And one shouldn't Google things when one is driving. Of course, the argument could be made that one should not film a show whilst one is driving as well. But, look, I'm responsible. I've got both hands on the wheel. I'm not looking at the camera, except on occasion when I stop at red lights, like right now. And I'm looking at the road, because I'm a good driver. At least I think so. And what separates the sponge that you clean things with from the sponge that's like in your couch cushions? What's the family tree of the sponge? It feels dubious to me. I don't know if I want to be cleaning my dishes with the same stuff that I'm sitting on. Although, you also clean with rags and that's just fabric. But that feels different for some reason. And sponge cake. There's sponge cake. I don't ever want to eat it just because of the name. Don't want to do it. Nope. The thing about a sponge is you either have to deal with it wet all the time when it feels kind of gross, but it also dries into that like oddly hard whatever, and it dries and it like after they've been used they kind of curl up. They kind of curl up like some sort of insect. And I don't like that. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. They come in bright colors a lot of the time, like these bright colors, just like a neon orange or a bright green or a yellow. And is that just some sort of cruel joke? Because you immediately, like, you do one swipe of a something and it's like gross and brown and black. Bleh. And I know that you're like cleaning with it, but then the stuff stays there. It stays in all those nooks and those crannies and ugh. So you have to deal with it wet and gross all the time and set it on the sink or whatever. Or you could get it a caddy. You could get it a caddy, which is either a thing that like hangs in your sink. You have to buy a separate thing to deal with this thing. And you can't just buy like a soapbox for it, because otherwise you're creating this like stew. This stew of I don't want to think about it, honestly. I really don't. Because like you think about, you clean and then you set it and the stew and just ugh. I mean, think about soap in a soap dish. The bottom gets all mushy and gross and ugh. But then they have those ones that you like suction to the side of the sink, with like a suction cup situation. But then, like, if you're like me, it gets buried in the dishes. So it's like I need to clean the dishes, but I have to move the dishes to clean the dishes because I live alone, and nobody can judge me if the sink piles high. No one to judge me but myself. Come on, red light. Need a red light. Look at my script. I think a red light in Los Angeles would be hard to find, but it's currently raining, as you can see. And when that happens here, people get scared and they don't leave their houses. And I'm only like halfway joking, because they like actually do get scared. Red light. And I mean, you can't, like, you don't have to buy the separate thing. You can just set it like on the sink, like on the shelf of the sink, but then it still creates a puddle and a stew that you're gonna have to deal with eventually. And they just, like, sponges just, they feel weird. Like when they dry, they're strangely hard and like scratchy, but not scratchy. But when they're wet, it's just, I don't like touching them when they're wet. They just feel, ugh, moist. Moist is the only word. It's the only word because it's exactly what it feels like, and it's gross. I'm sorry, but that's truth. Truth. And you know, some of them have that green, scratchy, scouring side that looks like one side of the Velcro. You know what I'm talking about? Like so it's like a scouring pad. The right word, scouring? Sounds right. I've never used one of those on dishes that hasn't gotten food trapped in it and just like kept there forever. And I just like, I don't want to be cleaning with last week's spaghetti sauce. You know? Like, gross. It's supposed to be gone. I'm supposed to get it off the dish. It's supposed to be gone. But like a sponge shouldn't be one time only, right? It shouldn't be like a paper towel. They're supposed to last a little bit longer than that, I think. Who knows? But is that what their intended purpose was? Just one swipe and you're done? I don't think so. But like the food, like not only does the food get stuck on the scouring pads, but it gets stuck in like all the little crevices. I just like saying crevasses. Crevices doesn't sound like the right way to pluralize that word. I don't know. It doesn't. I don't know. It sounds wrong. I don't know what else it would be though. But you know, when you use one for a long time, they can get all like blackened and grimy and gross, and it reminds me of the bottom of shoes after you've used a sponge for a while. And yes, maybe like you're supposed to get rid of it before it gets to that point. I know some people who do like this weird rotation where it's like they'll use the sponge on the dishes, and then after they used it on the dishes a few times, it goes to it becomes a counter sponge. And then after it's a counter sponge for a while, then it becomes a floor sponge. And I don't have the capacity to keep track of all of that. I'm sorry, I don't. I wish I did, but I don't. And I don't want to think about the amount of germs. That's what it comes down to. I don't want to think about the amount of germs that are crawling around in that thing. I just, ugh, gross. I've read things about you can put them in the dishwasher, and that is like supposed to, like, it's hot enough water that it's supposed to get rid of the germs. But first off, I don't have a dishwasher anymore. But secondly, it feels odd to wash the thing that washes my dishes with the other thing that washes my dishes. It feels very meta and oddly philosophical, and it just feels weird to me. The other thing that you're supposed to be able to do is you can put them in the microwave, and I don't like the sound of that at all, because that just makes me think of like radioactive superbugs. That's how The Walking Dead happens, I'm telling you. They're gonna get to the series finale of that show, and they're gonna discover that it's because people were putting sponges in microwaves and then continuing to clean food with them. That's how zombies start. Okay, so that's it for sponges today on this rainy afternoon. So all the things I'm supposed to say now, like subscribe to the channel, like the video, and do all of that stuff. And it always makes me feel like a hoe when I say that stuff, but I guess in a lot of ways I am a hoe. Because I want you to like this. I want you to see the content. I want to keep the content coming. So, yeah, do all that. Have a delightful day. Welcome to Drive Time. I'm going to do that again because I was looking at the screen and not at the camera. Look at the camera, not the screen. Camera, screen. Camera, screen. Okay.